Greetings, listeners, and welcome to The Spiritual Experience, a show where we share stories of life, love, and redemption for all of humanity on Earth. So sit back and enjoy. Try to identify with the speakers and not compare. Don't forget to subscribe on all podcast platforms. I'm your host, Jay Lewis, and here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spiritual Experience. Another week, another day in the life. It's Sunday. Today is the 2nd of October. One of my kids' birthdays, the middle kid. They're out there with their friends doing whatever they're going to do. I'm over here hanging out with you guys. I worked half a day today. I've been getting up early the last couple of days, trying to get my act together. You know, you guys been with me through this whole ride. I had a rough month as far as getting my crib together. And just doing regular life stuff, whatever. You know, so I got back on the exercise regimen. You know, because I've been so busy that I haven't really been exercising super regularly. So and it's so crucial to my mental well-being. It's like, dude, I'm like a sandwich without the bread when I don't exercise. So I've been happy. It's been a couple days in a row. My legs are sore. I was doing like these sumo deadlifts yesterday. Just get back in the swing of things, get back to my life. You know, things are going okay. And I don't know, man, what's going on? Really, what's going on? I just came from a wedding yesterday. I went to Guido's wedding with the young girl, Joe. That was nice. I got to see young Greggy, some of my other pals. And, And it was cool because the wedding started like early, bro. Like the ceremony was at 12, and which was great. By 4:30, 5 o'clock, I was already I was sneaking out of there, you know, because I had had a lot of stuff going on and whatever, and I had my little boo with me because Emily's at home. You know, she's recovering. She had a little surgery. But, nothing crazy. Yeah, so I got home. And I've been going to sleep early because I've been getting up early. I've been getting up 4:30 in the morning. The other day I was at the gym 6 in the morning. And I was able to go to the gym. And, go to the gym and then come to work, do some work, and then start my day. And I was done with my day by 3 o'clock, which was incredible. And I think I want to start doing that. You know, I've been following these guys for so long. These guys that, you know, they just get up early. They get up early. They get after it. They exercise early. They start their day 4:30, 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Fucking Jocko, right? Who's one of my my heroes. But I know that he posts it on his Instagram. 4:33, 4:32 a.m. 4:34, 4:33. You know? And here's the thing. It's I know it sounds crazy. I've been dying to switch over to that lifestyle for so long. And I've just been making this empty promise to myself that I'm going to start getting up early so I can just exercise and do what I blah, 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 blah. Right? Because I want to be a fucking savage and I want to, the earlier I start my day, the earlier I can finish it. Normally, if I just get up regular time, then my day's longer. Then I don't get home till 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, and by that time, you know, I'm seeing the people who matter to me the most, maybe an hour or 2 hours. I'm spending less time with them because I got to do all the other shit. I got to go to meetings, got to go to the gym, got to stay sober. It's sober October. Yeah, sober October. I'm an October baby on the 29th, baby. 29th. I'll have 19 years, 19 trips around the sun. Not one drop. And which is good because I don't I don't that's a long time to go through life unadulterated. And the thing is that like as you do that, you really I think it's a lot easier for you to learn from your own mistakes and be more observant. That you have to feel everything for that fucking long. My little trips outside of reality come in the sense of like energy drinks and that type, but that doesn't really psychologically. You can only hide from yourself from so long, And I was just listening to this other show. Rogan was interviewing this fucking guy, and I wanted to throw up. I forget. I'm gonna go back to the guy's name because the guy is like, he's out there really wreaking havoc. Dr. Gabor Mate. And whatever, he's not going to hear this, so it doesn't matter. But this guy was just like, I don't know. He's like the exact opposite of accountability and I don't know. He was saying shit like this. He's like, oh, we as a society, we have it all wrong. When like the doctor tells the mom when the baby's crying, don't run and pick up the baby every time, this, that, and the third, that you're supposed to let the baby cry it out or whatever. And he's saying no, like every other species, they're all over their kid. Like the fucking monkeys or whatever, the ones that survive, they hang on the mom for like a year or two. And it's like basically he's like in his mind recreating these and connecting these dots that don't even make sense. He's like, oh, the baby feels abandonment. The baby feels this. The baby feels that. Imagine the desperation of a crying baby and the mom is there. And I'm like, bro, you don't even fucking know. You don't even know what that feels like to the baby. We can speculate because as an adult, somebody's crying. What? That means everybody should stop and run and hug you? Is that what you're saying? And that since people don't do that, that they, that's where all this trauma comes from. And it just sounded like a lot of excuse making. Now, there's a difference between abandoning your child and then also setting boundaries that are healthy for any person who's going to, function on this planet. And I think that's where this guy is like sorely mistaken. And for me, I try to challenge myself because I was listening to this guy, at least for, 30 minutes or so, maybe 45 minutes, which is like all that I could take. And I had to stop because I was like, bro, and the thing that I respect about Rogan is that whether he agrees or doesn't agree, he's just interested. He's not like, hey, listen, that sounds like a lot of fucking bullshit. Because that's what it sounded like to me. Because I think there's just way too much. I think it's, you can go too far the other way. The tendency to go too far the other way is a lot higher than you not paying enough attention to your kid, unless you're a fucking sociopath and you're just ignoring your kid. So I think the tendency is to be like, just to learn how to stop yourself from trying to save them from every little thing, and that's where, that's where the problems lie today. Man, we're really like tumbling down that rabbit hole of like weakness. And that's what and this guy's promoting that. You can go, I don't know, what's the limit, right? What is the limit? I remember, when my son would, I don't know, misbehave. I think I only maybe hit him a couple of times. 4, 7, who knows? He didn't get hit all the time. When I was a kid, I got hit all the time. And that's just the way that it was. But I would do other shit to him, and maybe that was equally as torturous. I remember I would make him stand in front of the television, and then his arms would be out to his side like a T. And I'd make him hold them there, for, I don't know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds at a clip. And then I'd let him put his arms down. Then I'd tell him to pick them back up. He wasn't holding books or anything. He was just holding his own shit. So, and he would cry, and he would be sad, and it would hurt me. I don't want to do that to him. But part of the thing is I can't make him fucking soft, bro. Because the world is a cold place. There is warmth, and that's with each other. But as far as like a collective, like the collective is not warm. Life is collectively cold. And it's with ourselves where we can find that warmth. It's unforgiving. It's just unforgiving. And I was like, oh, am I going to take off my belt and start fucking whipping him? I remember my dad had this belt. It was like a leather, obviously leather belt. It was black. And, bro, it had the biggest buckle. It was like a big fucking, in my mind, it was the biggest buckle. Who knows? Maybe it was the size of a fist. But this is like in the 80s, or this, so probably this belt was from like the 70s. And the buckle had like this, it was like onyx, and it had like, I'm going to guess it was onyx. And it was like onyx and silver, and had like this like eagle on it or some shit, or like a bat or whatever, some kind of flying creature. Anyway, bro, that's what he would hit us with. And he wouldn't beat us with the buckle, but he'd whack us with the belt fucking crazy. So I wasn't doing that. But I'd do these other things. The thing is that, I don't know if I was projecting myself onto my kid, which is what this guy was trying to perpetuate. That he's like, oh, this is how the trauma goes from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next, is because of that. Generational trauma. All these things, And I just think it's just humanity. Like, we're just evolving. Like, it doesn't have to be like this fucking bad thing. Look, my mother, they fucking knelt on rice and did all other kind of shit. I think when I was a kid, maybe we got whacked a few times, extension cords or whatever. It was that. I don't really remember my dad hitting my sister too many times. My mom would do all the beatings with Dara. But either way, so this guy, the doctor, he was just like, it was just all this poor me shit. He was like, my mom, the Germans, I'm from Budapest, and my mom gave me away at this age and at this age and at that. I'm like, dude, I don't remember things from when I was that young, less than 1 year old. You're going to remember that, and you're going to carry that with you. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit, and it sounds like rationale. Now, maybe 5, 6 years old, you have these experiences and whatever, and they cement all of these, all these things throughout your life, right? And then a little bit at a time, you deal with them, or you don't deal with them, or whatever. This guy was talking about like, oh, this is what he was saying. This is what I was like, oh my God, this fucking yum. He was saying like, all right, like, yeah, he's like, addiction is not, and this is where, I always get personal, take it personal. Shout out to Gangstar. R.I.P. Guru. So this is where I take it personal, where he was just like, yeah, addiction is not hereditary. The trauma is hereditary, but actual addiction is not. I was like, is this guy fucking... It's like, is he even a medical doctor? He should, like, revoke his... Somebody should revoke his license. Because it's proven to be, from everything that I know, he's like, there's tendencies, but there's not like a gene. I'm like, dog, you not know anything about medicine? Like, alcoholism doesn't get passed down on accident. So he, according to him, because of the way that his mom left him when he was less than 1 year old, that created a trauma which he put onto his own kids, and they're going to put onto their kids. And is that why somebody drinks all the time? Because it's something my grandfather did? Like, no. You know? Alcoholism doesn't care what kind of family you come from. If you're an alcoholic, it means that you have an abnormal effect when alcohol is put into your body. That's what that means. Now, you can be oversensitive, you can be undersensitive. People can have touched you when you was a kid. They could have not touched you. You could have came from good parent, bad parent, whatever. 2 parents, no parents. But your inability to deal with life can be from maybe trauma, but not whether or not you're an addict or an alcoholic. And that's the thing. You know, so yeah, it was like, yeah, I was getting tired of it. And I was getting tired of his bullshit. I was like, fuck this guy. So then I went to another fucking episode, and it was a little bit better, talking about how basically, I mean, look, what's the reality of the world that we live in? We have to create our own happiness. The government is full of liars and is corrupt, and the media is biased. So who the hell do we have but each other? You know, doesn't even matter, man. You can only work on your own self and your own stuff. You know, and you know, I started you know, this journey today very early, you know, because I was listening to another episode of something else, where they were talking about, you know, people who have experienced all these traumas, really with like veterans and PTSD and this, that, and the third. And I was thinking, because it's my middle kid's birthday, and it's the one that gives us the most trouble, but it's the one that's had the most trouble. Most of the shit has happened to them in their life. Traumatic stuff, you know. So, but the problem is, like, they haven't been backed into a corner of reasonableness yet, or willingness, you know. And I love them so much. I love them, and I resent them, because I see the worst parts of me, I see in them. The parts of me that just are in my way of success, in my way of happiness, in my way of peace. I see it in them. The running from accountability, and the running from discipline. Like, discipline gets such a bad fucking rap. Discipline is just doing, you know, what does Tyson say? Doing the things you don't want to do, but doing it like you love it. You know? That's what discipline is. And then I ran from discipline my whole life. You know? I'd be good for a little while, and then I'd fall off. That's why recovery works so good for me, because it's like one day at a time. You know? It's a lifelong journey, but it's done one day at a time. So anyway, you know, now the next wave of therapies that are coming, which I subscribe to because I don't subscribe to a lot of the other stuff, which I know that I've offended so many people on with mental health shit. I just don't subscribe to, bro. You know, to be on 4 medications to regulate you. I don't know, man. I don't know. So, what the next thing is now is psychedelic therapies, and they can't be and the only one that I guess is legal over here or whatever is like the ketamine therapy, and I never did that. My girl did it a few times, and like I don't even fucking know. Maybe it's the addict in me. It's like, fuck the ketamine. Like, that stuff is not a psychedelic. Like, you need some psilocybin. You need 5-MeO. Is that it? 5-MeO DMT. You need some DMT. You need the toad. It's like there's so many people who've done talk therapy for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And it doesn't do anything. It just kind of, it does very little. Where like these therapies, I know from experience, I've never done them as a sober man, but I've taken all kind of psychedelic drugs, and now they're doing that in the right setting. Like, I remember I used to, that maybe a year or two before the end of my drinking, where I'd be having like these really hard, I'd paint myself into a corner. I'm working on Wall Street. I got big pressure on me, pressure that I'm putting on myself, pressure that the firm is putting on me, pressure that life is putting on me. Like, hey, man, you wanted to be on this team. Now you got to show up to the games. And now when you're in the game, now you got to make the plays. And the pressure would be like excruciating. I shouldn't say that. Not excruciating. At the time, it felt like it, but now it's like, hey, I've learned how to manage that pressure and how to just, take action. That was the thing. Anyway, so during those times, I was 19, 20, 22. Yeah, pressure was on. I would feel all this pressure, like, oh my God, I got to open accounts. I got to get new clients. I'm not making any money, like all this stuff. And somebody in my office had some mushrooms. I ate them. Not even a lot. Maybe, I don't know, a couple of grams. And I walked by the World Trade Center. I walked all the way through the West Village, blah, blah, blah. And my brain opened up and I figured out all of these, it just comes to you. That's what these therapies are saying now they do. Like, they just scrub your brain. And that was me just walking through Manhattan, in the late 90s, in the early 2000s on mushrooms. I'm saying, and then the answers would come, okay, you just got to do this. Like, the fears would go away, like all these manufactured things. And then I would execute in the next couple of weeks, and then this actually happened to me. Then I was like, wow, if it worked to get over that hump, imagine how it works when there's no hump in the way. So I took them again, and it wasn't the same thing. I was like, oh, there was no medicinal benefit. It was just, I just got fucked up a little bit, and then I was like, I enjoyed it. I never had a bad trip in my life. Not one time. And I tripped a lot. I don't know. What's a lot? in my life, if I had to try and remember, maybe I tripped 50 times, maybe 75 times. I don't know. But I wasn't drinking and drugging that long. You know, I started when I was 12. I lasted, no, like 11 or 12. I got sober at 24. But I was fucking full throttle ahead that whole time. But I remember that medicinal thing that the mushrooms did. LSD, maybe, whatever, not so much. You know, I took, what did I take? Back then they called them barrels. Ecstasy. And then, you know, in the hood, they, yo, you got them E-pills? And then, like, the white boys would call them X. So I remember that. And that allegedly was MDMA, but it wasn't. I mean, who knows? I didn't like it because, like, my serotonin or whatever, the next day I'd be so depressed. I didn't even want to be around people. And I had to be with myself depressed the next day. So I was like, fuck that. And I did it like maybe 20 times. I remember that. Like, it was like 20 times that I did it on different occasions just to make sure I didn't like it. And, you know, I would sometimes I'd take like 2 or 3 at a time. My pupils, you could throw fucking cinder blocks through, you know, sweating my balls off. But yeah, so I didn't like that stuff. And then obviously cocaine, the worst hangover ever is cocaine. It's like suicide for me, is that hangover. So, but anyway, I remembered the medicinal part of the psilocybin, so I understand why people use that shit. And now with, you know, it's like, what are they going to do? They're going to stick you on these fucking SSRIs forever. You need one to counteract the other, to counteract the other, to counteract the other. And then all that stuff goes through your fucking body, all your organs, everything. And then they don't work after a year and a half. I know, bro. I have personal up-close experience with them. It's devastating. And then what happens if you... And these psychiatrists, they're the fucking worst. Nothing makes me more angry than psychiatric professionals. Like, they're the most cavalier. It's a scam, I think, in a lot of ways. And maybe there's a lot of good ones. I've never run into one. I've never met somebody who had a good one. And it was just that. Bro, they forget all the time, like, oh, I forget to call in the prescription. How many times I've gone to the CVS and they're like, oh, the prescription's not here. And then I call somebody, whoever I'm supposed to get it for, and they're like, oh, yeah, the doctor forgot to... How the fuck do you forget to call in a prescription? Knowing what missing a day or 2 days will do, you will start to go through withdrawal. It's fucking crazy. They just scramble everybody's brains with that shit. And I don't care. Nobody could ever deny me that experience that I've seen. It's crazy. So, point is that, like, all right, so the psychedelic medicinal treatments, you know, you can take ayahuasca, you can take mushrooms, MDMA, 5-MeO, like, but in a controlled setting with doctors in these places. They have them in Mexico. The problem is, like, in America, they're Schedule 1. I don't know why. But because Big Pharma, they can't make no money off of it. Meanwhile, I could walk into any of these stores now and buy weed and edibles and anything in fucking New York City. I was laughing with my cousin Lou in Florida. Shout out to Lou. I was like, how the fuck? Because my girl was in Miami and she didn't, and they were running out of weed. I was like, how the fuck you can't just go buy weed? Not no Delta shit. Like, I was like, you can't buy weed in Florida, but you can buy a fucking rifle at Walmart. Well, here in New York City, where you can't even have a fucking gun, but you can go into one of these smoke shops and they got buds everywhere. They got edibles everywhere. You know, I went in there and I got whatever I needed to get. Point is that, you know, these pharmaceutical companies, they can't make money off of this shit. They don't want you to get better. They want you to stay sick. And I know that I'm like an outlier in that kind of belief. Where like you talk to somebody who's on medication, they act like I don't know. I'm like, no, dog, you don't know. You don't fucking know. Like, you don't know. Like, you go in there and they prescribe this shit to you, and then now you're on it. And then so you can't get off. You just can't. That's it. Now you're stuck for the rest of your life. Now you're taking pills. Like, fucking, it's crazy. So anyway, bringing that back to the medicinal shit. So, like, I'm going to start to do some research. Because, again, my middle kid lives with, like, depression and all these diagnoses. I don't even know how to describe them. It's just bullshit to me. But they definitely have had some real life trauma. That I can guarantee. And that I believe. But I don't believe that's all going to be solved with fucking medication. So I want to do research and find the places that they can maybe go get their help the right way. Now, the problem is that when you go through these things, similar to me going through that last, I think that might have been one of the last trips I ever took. Journeys. Now they call them journeys, not even trips. The medicinals journey. When you're fucking going to Slayer, it's a trip, right? So I had to face myself, and that was the thing I was running from, and that's why it opened my whole brain up. Like, bro, you need to face yourself and face this thing and face that, and it allowed me to put everything in perspective where I can walk through it, and it was painful. The end was liberation, similar to me getting up in the morning and starting my day on the right path. Like, I started getting up, you know, whatever, you know, and I just think about Goggins. He's like, this is what we do now. That's it. Anytime I wanted to stay asleep, it's like, no, this is what we do now. We get up. That's it. There's no negotiation. We get up. You know, and that's it. One day at a time, you get up. Yeah, so I'm going to see if maybe, you know, I do more research. Hopefully they're willing, because they're fucking suffering. You know, the pain is at bay every day. That's their job. Keep the pain at bay. Let me go do this. Let me go do that. Let me, you know, whatever they do. They smoke weed. They hang out with their girl. They make these little incremental things in their life. They're not doing anything. They're not going to school. They're not working. Really, they work here and there. Sometimes I take them with me. But there's no progress. No real significant progress, you know? And I'm thinking that maybe if they go on one of these retreats into these facilities, but they're like, not they, but the facilities, they're not in America. I got to send her to fucking Mexico. So what? There's like all these military people who go there for PTSD, Navy SEALs, all kind of shit. Because it's fucking legit. And it's going to be painful for them to face whatever they got to face. And I'm not going to say out loud really what it is. But people who know, they fucking know. And I wish I could take that pain away from them. But them not facing it is actually keeping them in the hamster wheel that will cause more pain by prolonging the progress. And then you stay on that Ferris wheel of this is my life. And next thing you know, you're 23 and you turned 18 5 years ago. And here we are. and all you've done is gotten 5 years older, and maybe, and that's it. You gotten 5 years older. And you made a few moves here and there, but you haven't really made strides. From 18 to 23, I lived so much. You know, I lived so much. And I had a kid, and I was addicted and everything and whatever. And they don't have any of that stuff. They don't have any children. I personally think they might be addicted to pot. I think they're just addicted to keeping the show going. You know, keeping the show going. Keeping the pain away. Instead of facing and walking through that shit. And I would do it for them if I could. I would fucking do it for them. You know? But I didn't have them since then when they were little. Like with my son, you know, I taught him a lot of lessons the hard way, and I was very good at being there for him when he really needed me. You know? But then everything came with a real life lesson. You know, and lessons are painful, but that's it. Then you get callous to the pain. And you're like, okay, well, now I know that's where I need to go. I need to go towards that pain. That pain is where the growth is for me. You know, it'll become easier and easier to get up at 4 a.m. every day. Right now, it's not that easy. And even though I did some shit this morning, I was... yeah, it wasn't easy. And then I had some free time, and I could make a meeting that would have made my day a lot easier. And I went and I did it because my brain was like, nah, you don't need to. And I was like, no. As soon as I hear that, I'm like, that's exactly where I need to go. And the only anxiety I have about going to meetings, especially ones I've never been to, this one was at 103 Quincy in the Sty. That's like the Sty, Crown Heights, whatever, is finding the actual meeting. Once I get in there, I don't need to know anybody because I am home. But once finding it and making sure I'm there on time and whatever, it's a little bit anxiety. So I did that. And I came to the shop, did some work, and I felt good after that. And, you know, the birthday person is out with their friends. And I knew that they weren't going to, because then my girl's like, yo, make sure you know, they're going to be back by 5 because of this, that, and the third. And I was like, and my mom's like, no way. Because I know the bad parts of them, the self-destructive, shitty, I'm going to sabotage my life. I can spot that a mile away in them. So I know what they're going to do before they know. I'm like, here's this going to happen. Here's this going to happen. That's why I've been able to guess about how their life is going to, because I know how life can spiral down. I'm like, well, what's the next step down, right? Is this. What's the next step down is this. So, you know, so I was like, listen, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be here working because I was at the wedding yesterday. So I didn't have a chance to really work. And I needed to do a lot of shit. But I'm happy I did it. But I was like, I said, I can be here till, she's like, be home by 5. I was like, no doubt. I said, I can be out of here by 2:33. I said, and I asked her like 3 times, yo, make sure that they're going to come home at 5 because they're going to some, I don't know, like an escape room with their friends and whatever they're doing. And I was at like 12. I'm like, dog, on your birthday, a person that age is not coming home at 5. And I didn't want to say all that and be like, what are you, fucking stupid? But I can tell that every time I told my girl, like, yo, make sure that, because I don't want to have to rush out of here if I don't have to. I had a lot of work to do. And then it's like 2:30 and I go back to my phone to grab it. And what do they say? They changed their plans. So don't rush home. I was like, of course they did. Of course they did, because I know what it's like to be a young person and to commit to something like, yo, I'm going to be home at 5 and then have that not matter. anymore because I just want to do whatever I want to do. And be that self-absorbed and be that selfish. I know what that's like. That's how I be. So I knew it was going to happen. But now, like, and the thing is, like, I love to be proven wrong. I love it when I'm wrong about that kind of shit. But it's very rare. You know? So hopefully I'm going to do some research and then I'm going to have a sit down with them and say, listen, the best thing about me not being like your biological dad is that I don't have this fucking coddling emotional attachment to you that I'm going to co-sign all your bullshit that people naturally have to their kids. I had to fight that with my own son, similar to like what I was talking about with that stupid doctor. That like, no, you got to fight the urge to fucking soften them. And you got to find that balance is what you got to do. So the good thing is that, like, you know, I remember I'm the one that told them to start smoking weed. I don't know how old they were. They were in high school, maybe 18, 19, or whatever. I don't know. But, bro, when I mean, like, they were spiraling, they were already in a fucking toilet bowl of zero with no friends, with maybe less than a handful of friends, if that, not going out, no social life, sitting in their room, depressed, eating themselves into whatever. And I'd be like, dude, you don't understand. You're a very beautiful person and you're very smart. You get your shit together. The whole world is your oyster. But they couldn't climb out of it. They just couldn't climb out. So then I was like, maybe you should try some weed. Because I know that weed helps for depression. I know that for a fact. And they did. And it worked. It fucking worked. But now it's like, you know, now it's like next level. Like, okay, well, now they're just, all right, they're out of the, you know, it's like they went from a fetal position to like a knee. And now we got to get them up and running. And they're running out of all the other options. Like all these things that they're trying to do on their own. It takes them a year to figure out their fucking way doesn't work. Or their, like they were talking with the social worker that's going to help them this, whatever, get their shit together. And then a year, and I'm like, dude, that she ain't going to fucking help you. Because you know who helps you is the people who fucking hold up the mirror and tell you about yourself. There's like this saying where like what people think about me is none of my business. I'm like, no, that's bullshit. What people think about me is my fucking business. It is my business because they may be showing me something about myself that I cannot see on my own. So when somebody says some shit about me, like, oh, this guy's he's a liar, he's a cheater, like whatever, or he's a scumbag, I know that I'm not a scumbag, so it doesn't even fucking bother me. I know that I'm not. But if there's a grain of truth in what somebody else is saying, I need to pay attention to that. And that's the only way that I've learned to really make progress and really go from like looking happy to being happy. And I'm fucking happy. In the grand scheme of things, I'm very happy. We're doing okay. I'm doing pretty good. You know, because I walked through that fire, man, and it's so rewarding. And it's not easy to do on your own. That's why I have all of yous. That's why I have my network. That's why I have my fucking family. And just the family, like they don't really motivate me. My kids don't motivate me. My girl, she doesn't motivate me, but she's like, she don't need to motivate me. I look at her and I'm like, I need more discipline because I want to make their life better. And discipline in showing up and doing the right things and taking care of myself so I could be the best person, so I could be steady for them. I just need to look at, they're not like, oh man, go for it, blah, blah, blah. They don't, it's not that kind of party. You know, because I don't need that help from them. What I need is that, like, when I'm battle worn from living out here and I come home, they make everything melt away. I get to spend time with them. I get hot meals. I get that quality love, and that's everything. Because it could all be taken away. So hopefully I find this. I'm going to, do some research and find these places, and then I'll present the idea to them. And I don't even know how much it costs. I think they said $4,000 or $6,000. It's whatever. Totally worth it. 100%. Instead of fucking 5 medications. If they can scrub that part of their deficiency or whatever, that part of their brain, and all that stuff is like all nootropic, like, it all helps, with brain function and rewiring stuff. You'll see, like 10, 15 years from now, you're going to be like, oh, I heard on Spiritual Experience about that, and blah, blah, blah. And eventually, like, insurance is eventually going to start covering this kind of thing once they figure out how to make some money doing it. But until then, we can't keep trying to put 10 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag, which is what we're trying to do sometimes with this one. So, anyway, all right, guys, I love you. Don't forget, like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify, Google, Pandora, all your podcast platforms. Share these episodes. And I'll see you on the flip side. Peace. Okay, everybody, we'd like to thank you for joining us on the Spiritual Experience. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, Pandora, everywhere. And please find us on Facebook, where you can become part of our family. We'll see you around.